And we are going on. Now we've talked about all the rules, but we're going to talk about a few specific things, rules of exponents that have to do with the quotient rule.
You want our homework?
I will, but for now we're taking notes.
Did I actually get
Just got to get this thing turned on, and that'll be good. There we go. Okay. So, quotient rule. For exponents. Talking about exponents. So, here are rules formalized anyway. First is the power rule. And formalized, that looks like x to the a to the b. If this would draw it correctly, that would be nice. And power to a power, what do I do with them?
Multiply.
Multiply, so that gives me ab. So for example, if I had 2 to the 4th to the negative 6, I would get 2 to the negative 24, and then what do I need to do?
Bring it down.
Move it down, so I have 1 over 2 to the 24th. Then we have our product rule, which formalized the way we would write it mathematically, x to the a times x to the b, hence the name, product rule. What do I do with my exponents?
You multiply.
No.
You add them.
I add them. X to the a plus b.
Okay, so why wouldn't you add the 4 and negative 6?
Because this is a power to a power. Let me show you this.
Oh, okay, I got it. Sorry.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you. So if I had x squared cubed, this means x squared times x squared times x squared, and then I would add all those and get x to the 6. So it's way faster to multiply this. All right, so an example of the product rule. Let's say I had 3x to the 5th times 4x to the 7th. I'll multiply the numbers in front, so that gives me 12. And then add my exponents, x to the 12th. Oh, I got 12 on both of those. Okay? So that's going to bring us now to our quotient rule. We have talked about all of these actually. But formalized, our quotient rule is when we're dividing, and we could write that two ways. Maybe I have x to the a over x to the b. I could write it like that. Or I could write it x to the a divided by, write it like this, x to the b. In either case, my answer is x to the a minus b. Getting this all down, Austin? Okay. So there are 3 rules, not including our 0 rule, which anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, so we don't want to forget that. All right, well, let's do some examples of the quotient rule, and let's see how this works. So if I had x to the 4th over x cubed. Now I can apply my quotient rule 2 ways. Let me show you why it's working. So let's do that one. X to the 4th means x how many times?
4.
And x to the 3rd means x 3 times. Now, I would cancel, leaving me with how much?
X.
Just an x. So that's why the quotient rule is working.
We've done this before. Like, in...
Yeah, you should have done it in pre-algebra last year. Okay, so I'm just going to apply my quotient rule here. Whenever I just apply it straight up, my answer goes in the numerator. So 4 minus 3 is 1. So x to the 1. Okay? Now, I'm obviously not going to write it out like this if I had way larger numbers. So if I give you an example like x to the 14 over x to the 30, of course you're not going to write x 30 times and then cancel it 14 times. That wouldn't make sense. Okay, so let's apply our quotient rule. So when we apply our quotient rule, our answer will end up in the numerator. So it's going to be x 14 minus what? 30. And what's 14 minus 30?
Negative 16.
Negative 16. And then as the last step, what do I do with that?
Bring it down.
Bring it down. So 1 over x to the 16. So here's a trick to help you to line it up without this extra step with the negative. There's more x's on bottom than there are on top, right? So I'll do 30 minus 14 on my calculator. I get 16, right? I will put that answer in the denominator because there's more x's in the denominator. And then I don't have this extra steps right here. Do you see what I'm saying?
Say it again, sorry.
You just split it.
There's more x's on bottom than there are on top.
Okay.
Therefore, I know in the end, my x's will end up on bottom. Okay? Now, if that's confusing to you, do all these steps, and you'll get it right. Just remember, whenever you just straight up apply your quotient rule, it ends up in the numerator, and you may have to move it down. Now, actually, where we get tricky is where we have extra negatives. So if I had something like this, okay, so we are going to apply our quotient rule. Why? Because I'm dividing, aren't I? Okay, so it's going to be x to the negative 5. Now I'm subtracting minus what? Negative 2. So it's going to become a plus in a moment. The next one is 7 minus what?
Negative 12.
Negative 12. So in both cases, I have negative 5 plus 2. The negative becomes positive. So what do I get here? What's negative 5 plus 2?
Negative 3.
And then I have 19. Last step, what do I need to do?
Bring the x down.
Bring the x down. So I have n to the 19 over x cubed. And that's my final answer. Baby steps on a big problem. Do little pieces at a time. Any questions on how I got that? No? So we're good? Okay. Now let's do a bunch of different things. This is the big kahuna's big kahuna.
It keeps going.
Told you it's the big kahuna's big
It's
kahuna.
taking steroids.
His answers react.
Okay, so this is going to have lots and lots and lots of steps. Okay? So if you can follow along with what we do with this one, you can do pretty much all the questions in your homework, no problems. Okay? So we want to remember the order that we're going to do things. First, we start with the power rule because order of operations. Okay? Exponents first. Then we're going to do any product rules that we have. Then we'll do any quotient rules that we have. Now we may have to go back and do some more, like we might cycle through these a few times as we simplify things. And finally we deal with negatives. Okay, so we will do that last. Alright, so I'm going to write, now I don't want to forget the numbers. You guys often forget the numbers, they count. So I'm going to make sure that I don't mess that up by writing an exponent on them. So now I'm going to apply my my power rule. Power rule. Power to power. So what do I do with all these exponents? Multiply them by what?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. So I got 3 to the negative 2, x to the negative 4, and y to the,
Positive.
because negative 5 times negative 2 positive, times 2 to the what?
Third.
X to the, and y to the,
-6.
all over 4 to the,
2.
x to the,
-4.
and y to the.
8.
Okay. So, see, did one little step at a time. All right. Okay. So I see some things in my numerator, don't I? Can I do a product rule in my numerator? Yeah. I can do a product rule with this and this, right? What do I do with those exponents?
Add.
What is negative 4 plus negative 15?
-11.
I don't know.
-9.
Negative 19. So I have 3 to the negative 2, x to the negative 19. Now let's deal with y. Tell me about this y and this y. Product rules, so what do I do?
Add.
And what do I get? 4. And I skipped over this 2. I'm just going to move that up to the front. You don't have to do that. I'm just moving all my numbers up in front so I don't forget them. In the end, they do need to end there. Can I do this 2 to the third? Yeah. We'll do that next, actually. And I can't do any product rules in my denominator. Okay, so far I did my power rule, check. I did my product rule, check. Now I'm on my quotient rule. So anything that has a like base, I'm going to go ahead and do my quotient rule, which means what do I do with my exponents? I subtract them. Moving up or down is going to be dealing with negatives. That's going to be last. Now, if I'm the way I do quotient rule is I just straight up do it and then I move things at the end. So this 2 cubed is an 8, so I'll go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and do my 4 squared, that's 16. And this 3 to the negative 2, I'll wait on that one. You could deal with it by moving it down, right? Now right here, so I'm looking at this now. Quotient rule that. What do I get? Well, that's negative 19 minus negative 4, which is negative 19 plus 4, which is x to the what?
-15.
Negative 15. Notice I put that in my numerator. When I do straight up quotient rule, it ends up in the numerator. All right, now I'll do the y's. Y to the 4th, so I have 4 minus how much?
8.
Which gives me y to the negative 4. All right, so now I did my quotient rule. Now I'm going to deal with any negative exponents. Okay, so what do I need to do in order to deal with negative exponents? Well, I need to move the 3 down, don't I? So this has to move down. I need to move the x down, and I need to move the y down. So everything moves, pretty much. I'm going to erase this stuff right here. Boom. Okay, so now tell me about this 8 over 16.
You can reduce it.
Yeah, that's a half. Now this is all multiplication. Don't be switching to addition on me. So I move that 3 down, so that's going to be 3 squared now. I move the x down, so that's x to the 15. I move the y down, so that's a 4. Now, is this 6 squared? No. It will be 18. Is 2 times 9, right? Order of operations, do your exponents first. Okay? And final step. 1 over, I ran out of room. 18, x to the 15, y to the 4th. Boom. Final answer. What? See, now it's a lot of little steps. Now I know what some of you do. You're like, oh, big problem, I don't know what to do, so you do nothing. Don't do that. 1 step at a time. Baby steps. Baby steps. No giving up. No givey-uppy faces. Do something.
Can we just write the numbers down?
I want to see all this work. See how you get there. One little step at a time. Let's do one more big kahuna, then we'll be done with notes.
Is this a smaller big kahuna?
This would be a smaller kahuna. It's still a big kahuna.
Need a big boy. Medium kahuna.
Okay, you want to take my place in the basketball game today?
No. You guys have trouble enough winning. You don't need me out there making it worse. I don't know what I want down
38? No, please not 38.
here. 30 million.
No. Wow, Mr. Queen.
Okay. What do we do first?
Put your one. Powers in.
Okay, put my ones. So I make sure I get those. Good. And then what were you saying, Taylor?
You do the power rule?
Power rule. So any power rule on this first group right here?
No.
No. So I'll just copy it down. See, I just copy it down. You have to write all these exponents real neat. Times 4 to the what?
Third.
X to the
Third.
Y to the
6.
all over 2 to the
4.
X to the
Negative
Y to the
4.
okay. Now at the top, I'll do any product rules, and if I had stuff on the bottom to do product rule, I do that too. Product rule with the 2, anything?
No.
Nope. Product rule of this x to the negative 3.
Yeah.
What do I get?
7.
X to the 0, which is just,
1.
I think it'll be confusing if you wrote 1 there. You might think that's a 21. So I don't need the x. Y to the,
Negative 1.
careful,
Just 11. Add 1. You add it. So it'll be
Adam, 11. At the bottom, oh, now I forgot my 4, so I'll move my 4 to the front. Why not just do that? What's 4 to the third? 64, right? So I have 64 times, this is all multiplication, times the 2. See, if I have addition subtraction in here, then I can't do any of the stuff that I'm doing. All right, so 2 to the 4th, I can do that. That's, isn't that 32?
16.
It's 16. I always want to say it's one more than it is.
Wait, I have questions.
Yes.
Why is there a 64 right there? Because you went
I
ahead and
did
did that.
that.
Okay, what'd you do with that? The first parentheses. Like the 2
This?
x negative 3. No, the other one.
This?
What did you do with all that? Yeah.
It's right here.
So you're just scooting it along?
Yeah, there was no power here, so there's nothing to do, so I just copied. And then from here I did product rule. So we did this and this, negative 3 plus 3 is 0. So x to the 0 is 1, so that went away.
Oh!
And then we did this,
9.
so 11.
That's 10.
And we did that 4, 64. Alright, so at the bottom, nothing to do. Okay, now what do we do?
The quotient.
Quotient rule.
Is there a-
And we might as well do 64 times 2, right? What's 64 times 2?
128.
128. That x to the negative 8 doesn't do anything, but what about these y's? What do we do with those?
Subtract them.
And I'll get a 7. 11 minus 4 is 7. Where do I put it? Is it on top or bottom?
Top.
Whenever I do my quotient rule, it's on top. And finally, I'm going to do some reducing.
8.
It's 8 exact. And what do I do with this x?
You bring it up.
Bring it up. Y to the 7th. So I don't even need to write a denominator. That's done. We're good. See, it's little steps at a time. Don't get your undies in a bunch.
I have a question.
You guys can do it now together, so just pretend you're all in your group at
It was
home, you know,
basically
FaceTime each other. Yes.
So when you do the quotient rule, how do you know if like the answer's going to be a negative or a positive?
Let's do a few examples of that. Just straight up quotient rules so
No!
that we can answer that
Go
question.
back, please.
How would you do this?
Oh, thank you. Yay. Get presents.
Don't you do it.
Do it.
Thanks, I'm done.
Okay. Let's do just straight up quotient rules.
Oh no. Wait, what is the quotient rule again?
That's when you subtract.
Dang.
Man, I'm hungry.
Are we doing these on our whiteboards?
We're doing them together. So
Okay.
quotient rule this.
1/n2.
You are correct.
Oh.
Let's do it. That is correct. Well, let's do it in steps. So what do I do with these exponents?
Subtract.
And I get n to the -2, so I move it down 1 over n squared. When all of them are positive, it's pretty easy. I subtract them, and then whichever has the most, that's where I put it. There's the answer. All right, this one. Whenever I'm doing quotient rule, I'm subtracting. So 6 minus -4,
10.
which is 6,
N. What?
or n6 plus 4, which is 10, done.
10 over
I'm hoping this is
10.
answering Taylor's question. Next one. I subtract those, which is going to be 8 minus -10, which is 8 plus 10, which is 18. Someone was saying that like 100 times. Good job. She's like, hear me, finally, hear me.
Finally,
Hear ye, hear ye. Here's how you do math. Is this answering your question, Taylor?
Yeah.
And then we do -2 minus -10, which is -2 plus 10, 8. Okay? All right.